Board and Zoning Commission meeting to order. Cody, could we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Al Bloomer.
Here.
Jeff. Teresa Wiesler.
Here.
Susan Foisey.
Here.
Marie Olson.
Here.
Sandy Conley.
Here.
And Pete Critelli.
Present, here.
Thank you. The first order of business here is to review and approve the minutes of our March 13th, 2024 meeting. Before I get a motion, does anybody, I assume everybody's read through the minutes. Are there any corrections, additions? Sandy?
I can only go to the part where I lost contact.
Okay. Susan?
I didn't notice anything that jumped out.
Okay. Pete, you weren't here, but do you see anything there? Okay, I need a motion to approve.
Move to approve the minutes.
What was the date again? It's been a while.
March 13th.
March 13th?
A second?
Oh, wow. That's cool. Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Al.
Yes.
Jeff, absent. Teresa.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Marie.
Yes.
Sandy.
Abstain?
And Pete.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna go out a little bit out of order here on the agenda. Polly. On behalf of the City of Red Lodge and the Planning Board, we thank you for your time, your service, and your expertise.
Yay.
We're gonna miss you. You were always kind of quiet, but when you spoke, you went right to the point, and your expertise was invaluable.
Thank you.
We certainly appreciate it.
It's been a real pleasure, and as far as I'm concerned, this is the best board in town. And it has been for years and years.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
keep up the good work.
Yeah.
So, and thank you, Pete, for taking my stuff.
And enjoy.
Thank you, thank you. Now I have to go to the library fundraiser.
Sounds like fun.
And EverQuest.
Yeah.
Jeff was sorry he couldn't be here, but you know, he sent his
Oh, man.
really best. He's down observing the
He's
eclipse.
in the sun. And
So,
all that.
okay.
So thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Yeah, bet. All right, we're going back on, communications with the board. Urban renewal, do we have anything? I know Jeff is traveling. Cody, do we have anything on, urban renewal?
I'm not sure. I wasn't at the last meeting, unfortunately.
I was.
Okay, anything? Yeah.
I just was a member of the audience, and they agreed to keep it at 7, I think.
Okay, the committee?
Aren't they missing 3?
Well, but no, they're at 5, but they can go to 7, and they requested that we do fill those 2 spots, so those
Correct.
are advertised.
So they're going to 7, okay?
And that was the only main thing that I recall.
Okay.
They were fairly brief and got through their agenda.
Okay. My only question is that, and I'll ask Jeff, is that there was an individual out of St. Louis that was talking to us about doing some housing there north of the Red Lodge Jail. Has that come up at all? Did it come up? Is he still in
Not
the
after,
picture?
not when they gavelled the meeting closed, I left, but I didn't hear
Okay.
anything to that effect.
Okay,
But I have heard that around town.
yeah.
That, there was a fairly, I'm trying to think if that was the meeting it was at, and I think it may have been that,
I just wanna
and it
make
is north of the URD. So they're looking at a substantial development, but it is outside of the URD.
That's a separate one.
Okay.
There's one that was inside the URD, it was outfit from St. Louis. They were interested in the URD because of the potential of grants and so forth. So, okay? All right, city council, Sandy, anything?
The city council approved phase 2 and 3 of the stormwater project. And, they're hoping to have it done by the end of this year.
Okay,
I know that there has been an effort citywide to have people write letters of support for a grant for curb and gutter. So a lot of people have been writing letters trying to get that grant because the stormwater project will cover all the underground stuff, but not curb and gutter, which actually makes the water go into the stormwater drain.
okay.
So that's that. I know that you were aware that we were talking about annexing the 3 subdivisions outside the city limits, and after talking to the county commissioners, well, I'm gonna have to look at the approval of those subdivisions, and then the city has to decide whether it actually makes sense.
Okay.
But that's a possibility.
Will that annexation come before us?
I don't believe it will, because if in fact those subdivisions were approved
Okay,
pre-annex, saying they could be annexed,
okay,
I don't think it will affect this board, but it will expand ours.
okay,
And we did vote to abandon Daly Avenue, which used to be between Hagan and the river, or the creek, and lots 4 and 5 between 8th and 9th Street. 5 was completely gone, and lot 6 pretty much gone there at the 9th Street Bridge. So they have reconstructed those lots, and the city agreed to abandon, because we had the request was to abandon Daly between lots 4 and 5. We may get another abandonment on lot 3 and 6, but
okay.
that's not in front of us. And I think the mayor should punch in here and talk about someone who, I know that the board here is asked to have a planning director or someone in charge of city planning.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
Okay, then that's it.
If I may, thank you, Chair. I'd like to add a couple of clarifications. So on the annexing part, the decision to annex will actually go to City Council, not necessarily planning, but there will be follow-up actions if that's necessary. We'll have to amend the zoning maps and stuff, and I believe that's very likely that stuff comes to you.
Right.
And on the right-of-way abandonment on Daly Avenue, that's actually not complete yet, but it is published in tomorrow's newspaper, and there will be a public hearing on the 30th of April. The talk amongst council is that it's likely, we've been told that a lot and a half of it is actually abandoned by Mother Nature at the point that the river washed it out. So I think this one is more of a formality but we're going through the same process, and so that process is not complete yet.
Okay.
It'll be complete on the 30th of April.
Okay. All right, anything else, Sandy?
Nope.
Okay. County, Marie?
I have nothing to report.
Okay. All right, under new business, first thing to do is we want to welcome Pete to our band of planning board members, and we look forward to having you on board. Now you're the 3-year guy,
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Now you're calling.
And
I'll be happy to have 3 years.
yeah, those of you that know Pete, he's had a wealth of experience within the city on various levels, and I think he's going to be a huge asset to our board, and I'm sure he'll work right in with us and hopefully help us move forward with some of the challenges that we have facing us in the next several months. So welcome aboard, Pete.
Thank you.
Okay, under new business, I just wanted to, Sandy touched on it here, we have set out some RFPs and have gotten some results on RFP for planning consultant. We received 3 RFPs, WWC Engineering, Interstate Engineering, and Staley Engineering. All of them have a fair amount of experience across the state of Montana, and the committee has met with the mayor, the committee being myself, Jeff, Mike Maples, Tom Kuntz, and the mayor, and I think Mike Maples is Brian Hanna is, we
Yeah,
met with
it was Brian Hanna. not
Brian
Mike
Hanna we
Nichols.
met with. The committee has given the mayor, their input, and now the, responsibility for the next few steps is on the hands of the mayor and the council. Mayor, do you want to add anything to that?
No, the one thing that I will add to that is, that we heard very clearly, we had two members, on that input committee that were from the planning board. We had the chair and the vice chair, and one of the things that came out of that very clearly is, and this is no reflection on Cody in any way, shape, or form. Cody, there was nothing but praise and all will miss you, but that there has certainly been, that it certainly makes a difference when we have a live person here at these meetings to kind of see people face to face. And so, that was offered as a very, very, very strong input, and we're absolutely gonna do everything possible to make sure we address that.
Right.
A couple of different ways to do that, but that was probably the most significant ask that we heard out of that, is that we need to have in-person representation, particularly at our meetings.
We have some big CUPs coming our way, and we have some other issues coming our way. Do you have any kind of time frame when a decision might be made?
I have not heard.
I don't want
anything.
to rush you, I just want to.
No, and I would probably defer to Cody for that. I don't think that there's anything that's imminent. I think there's stuff that we're seeing, but the nature of it is it doesn't happen overnight. Cody, are you aware of anything in the imminent time frame that people could start tentatively setting dates for?
Not anything solidified, like nothing has been received, but on my radar is the 1st of May, you'll have a subdivision PUD review, amendment before you. Also, probably by mid-May, I think you're likely going to have a subdivision in your R4 district. And then you've got a couple of CUPs heading your direction that also have said likely in May, but nothing yet.
Yeah,
So
that's a pretty full vote.
a lot of talk, but no dates and nothing hard copy in front of us.
Right, okay.
They'll all show up on Monday and want to be on Tuesday.
Yeah, right,
so.
I understand. Okay. Okay, so any questions of the mayor on this? Okay. Old business, the Beartooth Front Community Forum. Jeff has been kind of our leader there, as the chairman of that committee when it goes to growth policy. Marie and I have participated as representatives of the board, and what I sent to each of you was the proposed draft agenda for the meeting in May. I won't go through it in a lot of detail. You can see that there are several different sections to it. It's a 3-hour session. The opening segment is predominantly city and county growth policies overview. Jerry, Greb, how do you pronounce that? Grebenc. How do we
Yeah.
pronounce that?
Grabentz.
Grebenc. He's probably going to be the facilitator and chair. And as you go through that, what I want to make sure that the planning board understands, is Jeff and I have talked about this at length, is that the third segment from 11:30 to 12:15. First of all, I'd like to make sure all our planning board members can put it on their calendar to be there and participate, number one. But the third segment between 11:30 and 12:15, we're going to have breakouts. A minimum of 5 breakout tables, a maximum of 7. And I would like a planning board member to facilitate each table. Have a planning board member to be at each table to facilitate whatever that discussion is. Some of the topics are kind of open right now. We're still looking at it. But there'll be a trails, parks, and open space topic. There'll be a public lands topic, an energy conservation topic, a wildlife urban interface topic, and we're still looking at some other potential topics that would be at those And those tables will gather information, and then ultimately that'll end up back on our table as we go through the growth policy. So I'm hoping that each planning board member can participate at that level and take responsibility for one of the tables, one of the topics. And as we get closer to solidifying those topics, we'll allow each of you to have a choice of which one you want. Unless you all want the same one, then we'll have to do something else.
What's the date again?
It's May 11th, from 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at the senior center. Cody, do you want to add anything to that?
Nope, you covered it.
Okay, I think this will be a great time, and it'll be our opening opportunity to listen to the community input as we go into a growth policy review. Yes, Teresa?
We're meeting again on April 19th, if you and Marie would like to join.
Yes.
April 19th. you said.
Yeah.
Those are Fridays, right?
Did I leave anything out?
We have the idea of asking, John Clayton to facilitate,
Yeah.
but I don't know if Jeff has had that discussion with him yet.
Yeah.
This is sort of offload from,
Yeah,
Jerry having to run the
Yeah.
whole thing,
Yeah.
the whole time.
yeah. And the breakout topics, according to Jeff, are still in discussion, is that correct?
What we learned from, Courtney
Yeah.
last meeting was that, she's begun redrafting the
Yeah.
growth policy according to the new state
Yeah.
breakdowns and
Yeah.
mandates. And it looks like we might have 8 sections, and we're just, really, that's the last thing to tie down
Yeah.
is how to slice and dice those so that all the
Yeah.
topics are covered at the table.
Well, if there's 8 and all of us participate, then we're gonna have to find somebody else to facilitate that. Jeff told me he's gonna try to do it to 7, but whatever the number is, we'll try to figure it
Yeah,
out.
so we can limit it.
Yeah.
And he wasn't at the last meeting, so
Yeah.
he didn't know that
Okay,
Courtney had come up with this.
okay,
So the 19th will be a good discussion.
yeah, okay. Marie, do you have anything?
No, I was just looking through, I mean, for a rough draft, it's good. And I haven't been to the meetings, but how would you like because we can always talk about all the problems, but are we looking for a solution-driven, are these questions gonna be solution-based as far as where we can facilitate the table thinking of ideas too?
Well,
I know I'm speaking kind of broadly,
it's more
but,
about just gathering.
Gathering
people's thoughts
information.
at that time.
Yeah.
The main focus and how this all started was to educate the community about the importance of participating
Yeah.
in the growth policies, both the city and the county.
Yeah.
So it's a good time to sort of open that door and bring everybody into that discussion. At the end of our plan is to have Jerry speak about what those next steps are for
Yeah.
Great West and completing those, or organizing those focus groups that will then follow.
okay. That's kind of
Yeah.
my.
But I think that's a fair question. I think depending upon how the table discussion goes, if you're the facilitator and somebody comes up with an issue, then you say, well, is there any ideas around the table of how to address it? And you could,
Mhm. We'll certainly gather
Yeah,
anything that
gather
everybody
that.
offers.
would you give that back to Sandy?
Sure.
Thanks.
It's like gold, yeah. Anything that they want to say is something we want to
Yeah.
capture.
The growth policy are people's ideas of what we'd like to see the community look like in 5 years.
Yeah,
And I think we need to not worry about the problems, what would they like to see in the
Yeah.
next 5 years?
right.
And so I think we need to be more on the positive side at the table. And we
Yeah.
may need to have, that's open for any discussion,
Right.
as opposed to limit it
Hmm.
to sustainability or
It's not limited so much as we're making sure that each of the sections are covered. But,
Yeah.
we also got a good set of leading questions. Cody, your questions were excellent, and,
Yeah.
for each of the tables, we had an idea of what questions we
Yeah.
would uniformly ask and try to be as unbiased as possible,
Hmm.
right? To start, capturing what people's
And-
thoughts are. But I think we also, on the 19th, wanted to talk about incorporating some of those questions the way they were posed by Cody, because
Right.
they have that experience.
So is it just more general now for the growth where does it say what is the main topic then? I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses, so I'm kind of It's fuzzy.
It's growth policy, both county and city, and how they interface.
Okay, I thought it was more senior living driven.
Because the first part of the presentation is predominantly county, the second section is predominantly city, and
Okay,
the third section is, and I have not attended meetings because I was on the East Coast, but Jeff and I have communicated fairly regularly. And one of the things we try to do is some picks of the hot button topics. We thought about having, big panel sheets. If the facilitator could write these ideas down on the sheets,
Yeah, sure.
both pro, positive, and not, then we gather that information, and then you're gonna see some commonality, you're gonna see some outliers. And then that becomes part of the database, because this will probably be only the first of a couple of different open forums, on the growth policy.
Right, it will be,
Yeah.
yeah. And Cody, you know best, but I think from the first time we started talking about this on planning board, the idea was to have these focus groups
Right,
follow up with
right.
everything moving forward after it's
But
started. But-
the one thing we wanted, and Jeff and I have talked about, is we didn't want the Wild Wild West. We tried to pick what we thought were the salient topics for the table discussion.
May I ask, of the 8, are subdivision processes involved in that? Could that be a topic?
I'm gonna bring up,
Please.
Yeah.
what,
And/or visitor impact?
Visitor impact was on that list, in some form, so,
I did see that.
Hey,
I'm gonna bring up,
I didn't bring my sheet with me,
categories
actually.
that Courtney had provided to us, if you want.
I will send you the list
Okay,
that I have,
yeah,
But those are all.
and there's like
lined up.
20 different things.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, she had it down to 8. It was,
Yeah, but I will share the list with all the planning board
All right.
members. Right, that is.
so how you'd like the table to go though is being the facilitator, the facilitator would run the questions and,
right, and it'd be very clear on the agenda.
Yeah.
you know,
okay,
it was
so they
very
know
clearly-
what's coming,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Mayor, are you gonna participate in this?
Need to look at my calendar and find out.
Because if we have 8, you might have to facilitate a table.
There are worse things.
Come on, Dave.
If,
We'll have coffee and cookies.
if I am in the state, I will be there.
Yeah.
The weekend, so the chances go up.
Yeah. But the bottom line I want to get out of this meeting tonight is to put it on your calendar, and if you're sure you cannot be there, let us know. We'll
I
plan
can
it.
ask the land use committee, with Senta and Doug
Yeah,
from the city council to facilitate a couple.
if we need
What are
them.
people on BSCS that can
Yeah,
facilitate
yeah.
too?
So,
and-
yeah,
and
so
involved in this, yeah.
if you could give Jeff or I those names, give them to me and I'll get them to Jeff. Okay?
I believe that I will be able to be there.
Okay.
It is on my calendar. What time does it start again, please?
Yeah.
I gave my sheet to Sandy.
It'll start at 9.
9:00.
It's usually around 8:30, people come in,
Yeah.
mingle, coffee, you
And
know,
then it goes till
1.
1?
Okay.
It may run over because there's gonna be so many things to summarize.
Okay. Okay, Teresa, did we cover everything? I'm sorry.
I believe so.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you.
Cody, we got everything?
Yep.
Sue, you okay?
Mhm.
Pete?
Yes.
Okay. Staff communications, and updates. Cody, anything?
Not too much, other than just putting on your radar what's coming down the pipeline. Again, none of these things we've seen any applications on, but there's been a lot of conversations and preparatory conversations for a handful of projects, probably 4 that to me are pretty significant. I don't want to get into specifics of where because we don't have anything yet, but the subdivision review in R4, PUD zoning amendment in an existing subdivision, a townhome CUP also in R4, and then some rumblings of a potential hotel development north of town or at the north end of town. So
Okay. Cody, as we're in this interim period here now, I know with a contract, are you still a contact for me, even though we're into April, or how does that work? How are we working?
yeah, the contract,
Good?
the official contract ends April 14th, but how it's worded is if there's any ongoing projects associated with it, we can close those out. the reality for me is I have to wrap up May 1st. I'm just getting too overloaded with my current job. So we're making a plan for transitions, and Dave and Brian have been looped into every conversation I'm having,
Okay.
unless it's on the phone, of course. And then I'm also kind of prepping a wrap-up document I'll provide to you, Al, and also the mayor, on things
Okay.
that maybe are outstanding to me or things you want to pay attention to, that have just come up in my tenure with you. So
And the revitalization contract is separate from the, planning contract, right?
it is. Yep.
Okay. And I just gotta say publicly, I've said it to the mayor, you've been terrific during this period, Cody. I appreciate your efforts, your expertise, and your patience with me. So you've been,
Oh,
you've
thank
been
you.
really good. Yeah.
You guys have been a pleasure. I'm sorry. I know it's not an ideal situation. And the reality
Yeah.
is these contract services aren't meant to be the only service. It's meant to be a help or a Band-Aid, but we do what we can. But I appreciate all of you so much. It's been a lovely experience.
All right. Okay, petitions, communications from the audience. We only have Brent. Do you have anything?
No, just look forward to having an opportunity to hopefully work for the town, so
Okay.
hopefully hear back soon.
All right, anything online, Dave?
We
Petition.
have, one participant,
Yeah.
online participant. Do you have anything you'd like to add? Angela?
I have nope, I have nothing. Thank you, though.
All right, thank you.
Okay, under other business, we have a couple of things that we want to address. Mayor, do you want to? Under other business, or there's something you
Will
want
you
to?
spark my memory of what it is I'm speaking on?
Minutes.
Pardon?
Minutes.
Oh, minutes. Thank you.
I can do it, but you.
No. So one of the things that we have identified historically as an issue is that we've got close to 2 years, or a significant portion of the last 2 years, that do not have minutes. We do have the recordings available. There has been.
Correction, we have the minutes, they haven't been reviewed and approved.
No. We have 2 years where there aren't minutes.
Oh,
We have one or two, there are recordings. We have one or two meetings that have, due to issues that have come up, that there have been minutes created. We've had Cody go in and create those minutes for us. So the thing that has become evident as we have those minutes is what is the appropriate process for how do we get to approving of those minutes? There's some answers we know aren't the answer. Hey, everybody, go sit down and listen to another 50 hours of meetings and refresh your memory and validate the minutes as we go through. That's not a good answer. When we have reached out and talked to Dan Clark in the past, hey, can I approve the minutes for the meeting that I wasn't there for? He was there, and he said, you can vote that you have confidence in the process. So as we have those minutes, and like I said, we've got one specific set from a year and a half ago.
20 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
That the minutes have been created. The minutes have been created by Cody based on a recording. And I'm doing some research, and Al's doing some research about kind of what are the appropriate ways to do that. But I welcome any input from this board, and Cody and I have not talked directly about this. But how would you guys propose, we could have non-ratified minutes, I guess, is one option. We could have people go through and review them, and if there's questions, go back and listen to the recordings as needed. But what ideas do you guys have for how do we approve minutes over the last 2 years?
Yeah, before we open this discussion, let's just add one thing. During my tenure here, and I talked to Jeff about this today, I'll take some responsibility in that I did not keep pushing for where the hell are the minutes. I just assumed, and that was wrong. And we're gonna change that now. And right now, Jeff or I are gonna push that we get the minutes in front of us no more than 30 days after the meeting. preferably the next meeting, but certainly the one after. So that's moving forward. What's happened is that we've had some issues, historical issues come up before the planning board or the zoning that has required us to go back and refer to minutes. And we've had to go back and dig out the minutes to figure out what did we do, when did we do it, what was the discussion, who said what, do the conditions reflect the minutes or vice versa? And so that's where we are. And the question is now, how do we handle those minutes that have not been properly recorded or have not been reviewed and approved by this board? And I'm open to ideas.
Are there any pending projects that we need to look in arrears for actual facts? In other words,
Yes, there was one in particular, and I think we resolved that by going through the ROD, which was the approved CUP, and then the minutes, the ROD reflected the minutes accurately. But yeah, we've had, that was the one case.
We've actually had a couple, so like there was an issue with that, let's say Alpine Development,
Yeah.
that they came up about 6 months ago.
Right. That was
Was their, part of their conditional use, that they had to pay for the water problem, that it turns out predated them by many, many years. And fortunately, the record of decision, which is the real legally binding thing, we've been able to track those down through email, et cetera. But the minutes that go along with those, we didn't have. And one of the conversations was Al had said, we need those minutes. We can't fly blind up here, and that's something that we feel is sufficiently missing. And again, that tied into the conversation of let's see, having somebody here to do those minutes. And I made the commitment to him, we'll go back and we'll hire somebody, or bring somebody in to go back and work from those recordings and create minutes. And the reason that we haven't done it now, in part, is when we select a firm, we'll have a discussion about what rate they can provide to us compared to a transcription service, because as you can imagine, at least my confidence level in the minutes that Cody has gone through and created for us is much, much higher than, transcription services are professional and they do what they do too. It's not going to be verbatim minutes. It's going to be legally sufficient minutes and summary from there. But the benefit is it might cost us a little bit more if we use a firm and we have them do it. But in the process, they're also going to gain 2 years of history, which will help them hit the ground running. But then we came up with the problem, okay, now we've got minutes. Do I throw minutes in front of you guys and ask for you guys to approve the minutes of February 2022?
Where you have 2 new members on the board.
Yeah, and the recordings are available, but like I said, going back and watching 2 years worth of meetings to validate the minutes doesn't feel like an
But
appropriate
to
act.
Pete's question, it could be a problem.
It could be a problem, isn't a question, that's a statement.
Has the city attorney been brought into this discussion?
No, oh, wait a minute, we can't just put this in front, but I can certainly follow up with
No,
him.
I'm just wondering if, if there are key sets of minutes that once they're transcribed and they're put down on paper, can we ask the people that were on the board at the time to read through and, against their recollection, sign off?
The problem with, they were on the board at the time, and I'll use Polly as an example since she's no longer here. Polly's not in a position to approve the minutes from 2 years ago. This is the body that's approved. The question is, what level of homework would you have to do? Now, that's Dave's opinion, but.
do we have any necessity to prioritize any individuals or entities or meetings? In other words,
Yes.
we do.
Well, and we've done that, because as some questions have come up to me, and I've talked a little bit about this, with this interim, with no planning director, a lot of that stuff comes to me or Jeff and the mayor. And you go, okay, what's the record? Where is the ROD? Where are the minutes? That's some 20 months ago. So we've asked those things that have come up, whether it be Alpine, whether it be Sweetgrass, whether it be whatever it is, we've asked to look at those minutes to make sure that there is consistency between the ROD and the minutes.
They can be substantiated.
And so far, it's been pretty good, but still they're unapproved minutes.
And the recordings exist.
Yeah.
So the question is, maybe one of the answers is we have unapproved minutes, but a corresponding recording that goes with them. And that's going back to, we need the legal,
Do we have a budget to hire a firm to coalesce all that?
doesn't matter. If it needs done, it needs done.
Okay.
Do the minutes
It-
have
it-
to be approved?
Yeah, and I don't know the answer to that yet. So it may be that they don't have to be. It may be that
They
we
can
don't call
exist,
them minutes, we call them notes, and a recording exists as the legal,
That's where I'm leading.
And I think
That
that,
recording is the,
Like,
Yeah.
they exist, but they're not necessarily approved, and
right,
they-
so the record, the question is, and this goes to your question, can we count the recording as the legal record of the meeting? And therefore, we don't need to approve them.
Can we
At
get
that point, the minutes are just summary.
can we get a legal opinion on that?
Yeah. Cody, do you have any input?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's right. Dennison needs to weigh in on this because ultimately, at the end of the day, he has to defend you if anything goes south. But I think you can keep draft minutes and in conjunction with recording. But I don't know that any of that could ever be considered official if it really got challenged. So,
I'll be perfectly honest with you. My concern is if we go back to minutes, even 12 months ago or 6 months ago, that we've moved forward and made decisions on, by going back and re-asking us to approve those minutes, are we reopening Pandora's box? In other words, I didn't say that, that's not what I meant, that's why the recording to me is so important.
If we were to ask the new planning entity,
Yeah.
would that possibly overwhelm them before they got their feet wet?
And that would be a discussion. It would not be an assignment by any means.
Yeah.
And as I said, the goal and the most promising answer is that the recording is our quote-unquote legal record.
Yeah.
And at that point, the draft minutes, or whatever we choose to call them, are basically for research purposes. And so if somebody said, what would we say? Here's notes that somebody took from listening into that meeting. And by the way, there's the recording. If you want to go watch that meeting, I wouldn't have an issue with that.
Well,
So that, like the Alpine meeting or the Sweetgrass meeting, I can go sit and listen to that meeting in conversation.
But we have to act in good faith.
You guys approved something that was said 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Sue, do you have an opinion on this?
Well, I have another concern, and I don't know how exactly it would weigh in, but I do recall back when we were getting minutes
Yeah.
a little more timely. They were really, really seriously long. You know, I remember one that was over 70 pages.
Yeah, they were verbatim minutes.
Yeah,
Yes,
And
we've changed
the
that.
decision has already been made that verbatim minutes are not necessary. Legally sufficient minutes are what is needed, particularly where the recording also exists.
because that was something,
Yeah,
well, if we had been consistently doing,
yeah,
you know, it's interesting. Sometimes it's way off base.
yeah.
But I don't think we'd have as many people applying to get on the planning board. Seriously,
Yeah, I
I'm being
agree.
a little facetious, but not that much, because if you spend all day trying to make sense of it, or you used up 70 pieces of paper,
Right.
you know, from your printer and
Yeah.
ran out of ink and all that kind of stuff.
So are you leaning toward letting the recording be the record?
I am, but where there could be exceptions if you had something that actually needed to have, you know, if it was something that was sensitive or critical.
So we could prioritize, yeah.
Yeah.
Teresa, do you have an opinion?
Sounds right to me.
Huh?
Lean on the recording, yes, and then have
Sandy?
the draft.
You have all the agendas for those meetings.
Mhm.
I would prioritize which agenda that you wanted to
Yeah.
have a paper trail on.
Mhm.
And that's where I would start, is identify those particular meetings that could be problematic.
Yep.
Start with those, and then, maybe once the engineering firm comes in, we could ask them to do, you know, 2 a month or something like that.
And in fairness, that's what we've done, is prioritize
Yes,
those.
we have.
The question is, how do we, or do we, and that's kind of the question, is there a need? if there's a requirement that we have a written record as the legal record, doesn't matter if it's 1 or 100,
We have to
how
do
do we do something that's there? So I hope and I believe and I think that I know where the recordings exist, that is part of the record.
And
At
we
that
haven't-
point, the paper trail just becomes something for you.
We haven't lost any recordings,
To my knowledge, all the recordings are out there.
okay?
We have not lost, or no recordings have been deleted,
Okay.
so those exist. And furthermore, we actually have a double system. I'm assuming you started yours over there on yours tonight. So we have the Zoom meeting recording, and then we have the court recording that we do that on. And I didn't check with you, but you always click record on the machine over there. Did you do that tonight? So we actually have double recordings of these meetings.
Right.
And that's why if you look in front of you, you see 2 different looking sets of speakers.
Right.
Isn't there, an app that can translate those?
A, not really well, and B, even if it did, we still have the problem of how do we change it from 2-year-old notes to minutes?
Marie, do you have an opinion?
Would we even need to prioritize? Could we just, have the verbal tape and then, but like if something comes up, like let's say Sweetgrass comes
Yeah.
up, then we can go back to that meeting
That's what we've done.
and do the work at that point? Do we have to even have them can we just leave it as it is?
The reason that it was done, and to your point, I think we could, the reason that
Like if we had a problem,
the
go
commitment was made,
back,
and going, this
address
goes
it.
back to Pete's question, if the need is, I want minutes from every meeting, then the commitment was made, then we will do that. Whatever it costs, we will make that happen. It's something the city should have done,
Okay.
and it's incumbent upon the city to fix it. What we've discovered is, as we've started that on a prioritized basis, oh, wait, we now have transcription notes. They're not minutes until the board approves them.
Okay.
And we suddenly went, ew. We have to ask people, this is stuff that's all come up in the last week. We have the minutes, but they're not minutes, they're transcription notes. How do we ask the board to approve a meeting that's approaching 2 years old?
Yeah.
And especially if there's a whole bunch of them, right? So,
I think Pete, where are you on this?
I think if any entity inquires, we're acting in good faith.
Yeah, we're trying to, yeah.
But if something is pinpointed, then we need to be able to find it.
Yeah.
And that therein lies a prioritization.
And just so you know, Jeff and I, in concert with the mayor, when some of these questions come up, that's what we've done. We said, I need the minutes for that particular minute. I need the ROD. I mean, there were some RODs we didn't have that weren't.
and to be clear, our city planner said, I am not comfortable recreating a record of decision based on the minute notes. And so that's where we've been able to go back into email and into the filing system, we've been able to get those documents. So we're not going back and recreating legal documents, but minutes never existed. So like I said, what we've been creating is transcription notes.
Okay.
I have a very high level of confidence in those transcription notes, but they aren't minutes. And technically, we should be keeping minutes. And you guys saw that we have minutes here. When, as this problem came up, it was like, yeah, there's a problem. And so, you know, that's,
Well, going forward, I'm okay. It's just, what I'm hearing is, correct me if I'm wrong, is we're all kind of okay with just keeping the recording as of record, and then we will transcribe those on a priority basis that as needed on a specific issue that comes up.
Yeah,
That's what I'm hearing.
and we need to basically check with the city attorney to make sure that covers our bases
Yeah,
legally.
right.
Right. I also think it's important to inform the public
Mm-hmm.
that there are, records of the meeting,
Mhm.
even if there's only transcriptions and not minutes. A lot of times, well, I know I go and I search stuff, and there's just nothing there.
Right.
And how would I know that I need to ask for a recording?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
And
So-
we are in the process of getting those all posted, so you won't have to ask. You'll be able to go out, and the difference is where it says recording, there will be a link that you can click there, and where there's minutes, it'll be blank.
The only other suggestion would be, so that's 48 meetings, am I correct?
I don't know how
That may be
many
an
that-
exaggeration,
All
but
right,
it's more than there should be.
Yeah, it's a
If
lot.
someone would look at 48 agendas and circle what they believe are pertinent items.
Yeah,
That could be helped prioritize
yeah.
as we go through all those, you know.
And we've been there and done that, so that is the course that we're taking.
Okay.
It's the sudden realization that this week, that we have transcription notes that we're very, very confident in, but that doesn't make them minutes. They're not minutes until a board approves them, and it was like, ew. So,
Well, just to be clear, Pete, I have not, Jeff nor I have not gone through individual agenda. What we've done is the squeaky wheel deal. If an issue
Right.
comes up to a question, my first question to Cody and or the mayor is, where are the minutes, where's the ROD? And that's how this started. And we've done that on that squeaky wheel. We have not gone through all the agendas and say, well, I think that we better have that one, that one, or that one, or that one, or that one. I haven't done that. I just, when a question comes up, or compliance issue or something like that, that's when we've asked for those, you know, so we kind of wait for the nudge.
and I said, I've made the commitment, and we can certainly do that and have people go through. If I've made the commitment, we will make those
Yeah.
transcription notes as requested by the board.
Anyway,
That's-
lesson learned moving forward, and you all can help Jeff and I do this, is if we don't have the minutes of this meeting at our next, scheduled planning board, it will be no later than the 30 days out. Okay?
Because it's very difficult
Yeah,
to go back 30 days and remember what was
yeah,
said.
but I mean, again,
2 weeks.
I assumed, and that turned out to be wrong. So part of it's on me.
Do we need to put that in our bylaws then? Because you don't want this to happen again, like this is how we operate. 30 days, we have minutes.
Do we want to go through a bylaw revision?
No.
I
Do we
think,
need to? I don't know.
I think it's part of these minutes,
Keep
it's
that
part
in
of these
mind
minutes,
if we go
it's
next.
part of these minutes that this is gonna be, their administrative direction is that it'd be no longer than 2 successive meetings without approval of meetings, something like that.
And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna put the mayor out in the intersection and throw a rotten
Yeah,
tomato at
whatever.
him?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, no, I think,
So-
I think a dunk tank would be good.
I'd prefer that, that's fine. No, so the answer is, it's a problem, and we need to not let it
Yeah.
happen again.
Okay, are we okay?
And we've made you aware of the issue,
Yeah,
and like I said, we'll get legal counsel's
yeah,
input on that.
right.
It's we thought we were going along, well, we know how we're gonna fix this, oh wait, what about this last puzzle piece?
Yeah, right, yeah. Anyway, Cody, do you have anything else?
No, I will say going back and transcribing, I mean, I'm fortunate that I recognize all your voices, but doing minutes of a 2-hour public hearing with just voices, that's a little bit tricky. So just a heads up on that.
Do you have, just out of curiosity, if that meeting, if the last one that you did was 2 hours long for the meeting, I'm just throwing that out, what percentage of that, did it take you 3 hours? Were you able to do it pretty real time of the meetings, or what was your level of effort to generate what you generated for us?
Yeah, about 3 hours total, including listening. 'Cause I do it as I go. Because it was a 2-hour hearing, and then it takes another hour just to go back and double check.
So about 150% of the real time?
Yeah.
And that was my guess,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Okay, any other business? Marie, we're good? Andy?
I'm just glad you're back.
Pete? Who? Nothing out from the public? We're adjourned. Okay.
We're so
Zip
happy.
through it, zip,
Been a
zip,
real
zip.
pain in my
Well,
ass.
I'm on time for
Right.
voting.
Real
I
pain in
know,
my
it's
ass trying to
priority, you know.
Find the records of
Well,
that
I
poor
don't know how I got
record
so
keeping.
far.
I can tell you, if someone handed me 48 agendas,
Yeah.
I'd be happy to circle what I think is important.
Oh, okay.
So just,
Yeah, I've just kind of been a reactionary on this stuff. I mean, kind of, you know.
This is the longest meeting
but
ever.
I think one that we don't have minutes on is all the STR stuff, and we probably should have that.
and all we can do is disclose that we're acting in good faith.
Yeah,
You sure about that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. I can remember.
Okay.
thank you, Al.
If you just tell me tomorrow.
Oh, I know.
By the way, what we gave, Polly,
It's the
a bunch of gift certificates to her favorite place down there at the Magpie. She can,
Let me, shoot me a text, I've got a lot of,
Enjoy yourself.
tomorrow's my first day that I'm really available to do it.
Mike, but
I can respond to your
Is
email too, so,
annexation,
so those
I don't know to what
conversations
degree
did
will be
not come up
involved in
at
it,
all. In fact, I
but
still haven't
if
looked
we're
at my.
involved in it to any degree,
Now,
I think we should have some input, because that's very serious stuff.
I have a response from the city attorney.
No input from the board
I did.
Oh,
to,
from
to the council.
Yeah.
The way he responded
that's-
was basically.
that's not
it's-
to be
it's
taken
a
lightly.
decision that's on the
Yeah.
low bidder and blah, 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 and it's like.
Because I was a
I
realtor
know
for
that-
18 years.
Research for me.
Um,
So one
and
thing that I have to figure out is I have to make.
So
sure
if the
that-
city decides to annex them, I think they should have, whatever their
But,
matrix is, they should have some of it from us.
Staff
Yeah.
has
Okay.
So
kind of like an interview thing.
In my opinion, yeah.
One of the ones that I want to have.
I think
then like starting on
I think the
Friday,
mayor's on board with
nothing
that.
but,
Worst case scenario is, I'd like to not have a gap, because I want to do
Pure
smooth
water.
transfer.
Yeah, just
Right.
flush
to flush out what I did before, because I had this craving for fish sandwiches from McDonald's.